Hello, this is Miho from Canada. How are you guys doing? I hope your mental and physical health are good and fit. So, today I'm going to talk about live your own life. This is so simple, right? But a lot of people, I guess, have trauma from the past, bad feelings from the past, and that kind of shapes you to a certain way because you feel like you're limited. The way you brought up, maybe you were told a certain way, and that molds you to somebody else. And maybe you have a lot of desire to get approval from somebody close, like a family, parents, spouse, because you never had anyone that supported your desires or thoughts, always being judged, always being criticized, or never being praised, or something that that line of pressure that you felt while you're growing up. And it leaves you with a trauma when you grow up, and you lead your life like normal people, but deep inside you have this trauma from the past that it affects you in a certain way, and it kind of comes up later in your adult life. A certain behavior from, say, partner triggers your trauma and has nothing to do with your own, but that certain behavior or maybe wording or even expression or tone of voice triggers that trauma. Okay, this is an example of mine. So I was brought up in a very strict family, and I was always being watched, supervised with the negative enforcement. Always had this judgmental, voices and negative comments. So I was always afraid to being watched because what end up is always the criticism and with the bad feeling. So I carry that along, and to this date, I hate to be watched. I hate to be supervised because I link to being watched to being criticized and being judged, and cause bad feelings, which I remember from the past in my childhood, right? So I do feel that from my own husband, and he claimed that he had nothing to do with it. Probably he's true, but because of my trauma, I take his behavior as okay, that's what my parents did to me, so he must be doing the same. Just I don't like to be watched. I like to be left alone, and I'm fine. I'm a responsible individual. Just leave me alone. That sort of feeling, right? But he had nothing to do with that. So it's good to deal with it when it comes up. Though do not just push it away and ignore, because I've been doing that for years. It doesn't solve anything. It just keeps popping up and bigger. So when things like that comes up, you discuss. Even though you're getting in an argumentative mode, it happens, but it's good to communicate. Communication is the key to keep the couples or the couples together, because as long as you have this communication cable going, it's good, so that they understand and they get closer and closer instead of getting further away, and to the point where you just don't know this person anymore, right? So same for the kids too, like communication, like you don't need to pressure them, to let them talk about everything. You just keep that communication line open. So that's what I did with my husband, and it's a progress. So I have this trauma that linked to like a certain behaviors that it caused me to feel a certain way that really bring me down. But that's part of it is from my trauma, and I just believe to do the certain behaviors and to feel this trauma. So it's good to clear, and so that as long as you start realizing it, you can let those go, because you now know what it feel like, what's bugging you, right? If you don't know what you're dealing with, you just don't know how to let go. So it's good to clear, good to communicate, and it's a progress, right? So I have, things to deal with, and a lot of people do, I guess. But as soon as you do that, you get lighter because you let it out, so you can see it, what you're dealing with, and you can really realize what to do with it, so that it leads you to live your own life, because you're not living somebody else's life. And you don't have a lot of time left to live somebody else's life. For instance, like I used to try very hard to please my parents' needs and all that, because of that. Partially it's a cultural thing, but I realized that, it would not do any good to me. If something goes wrong, I will blame, parents, I blame myself, and it's just gonna be disaster. So I follow my heart, even though that was against my parents' wish. That sort of thing. So you need to really know what your heart is saying. And this is your life, and you need to live, right? Because you don't have forever, right? And you're free to do things that you desire to do, and that's your life. And you can create your own life. And when you set your mind to it, you could accomplish a lot of things, and you could really improve your life quality, and you as well. Like, you can learn so much to improve your understandings, and especially now it's globalized, so you're not the only one, meaning that you're part of the global stage, on this universe, so that you are required to accept all the differences, different culture, different languages, and the customs and thoughts, process and ideas. It doesn't mean you need to agree with them all. You just accept, okay, there are differences. That's okay, right? So it really unites people on this earth instead of separating, because I'm here, you're over there, because you're different. And difference is good. If it's all the same, we'd be wearing the same glasses, same uniform of clothing, and it's a differences is the beauty, right? And then it's like the story of the sun and the north wind, other way around, the sun and the north wind. When you put a lot of pressure, the person would not open up the heart. It's like, the man holding on to their mat, right? But when you really warmly welcoming, like those accepting power to it, person will voluntarily open up their heart. It's like the guy will take off their mat, right? That coat. So it really applies for, the parenting too. When you push or put a lot of pressure, kids will close up. It's like the shelf don't want to open up because too much pressure. But when you are so gentle and warm and supportive, it's just like the sun. Like, there's no limitation to it. Like, that person is not gonna get the sunlight, that person will get sun. It's just equally spread, right? So the same idea is warmth and support. It doesn't matter whether your kids will tell everything about what's happening or not telling. As long as you have the support and communication and the trust, and the kids will really feel comfortable, communicating what's really important to you, so the relationship gets better. Even this applies to the couples as well. As long as the communication line is open, you could discuss and check their points, because we all grow in a different level, and when you don't have this communication line open, they start to grow apart, and to the point where you don't know each other anymore. So keep this communication line open and then discuss your needs, right? So live your own life. And especially for people who got a lot of pressure while they're growing up to be somebody else, and this is the time that you start to let go of those traumas and those beliefs, old beliefs, not serving you anymore. And you just follow your heart. You know the answer inside. You know how to live, like how you want to live, just the way you like it, right? So no pressure from others. You just listen to your own heart and go for it. Okay, so I have a lot of things to overcome as well. So it's a little bit of at a time. It's a progress. You're not gonna be perfect. It's not about perfection. It's about the progress. A little bit at a time. Okay, so hope this helped, and have a great day, and see you in the next video.